Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedict and I'm feeling energized.
And I'm Benedicte. Today is July 28th. This is episode number 247, and I'm feeling vacationy.
Vacationy? Ooh.
That is not on the feelings wheel.
Yeah, but I guess we all know what you're talking about.
Yes. So I had a hard time getting back into things yesterday after a week fully off work at my summer camp for adults. I realized when I saw the clip that adult summer camp sounds like something completely different than summer camp for adults. Where, you know that I've been super excited for my plumbing course. It got canceled. I was so bummed, but then the guy got well again and he drove all the way to the campsite and we got to have the course 2 days after it was supposed to be held.
Nice.
So
what did you learn?
Oh my God, most useful thing I've ever been at. Also, most engaging. Like he was, when somebody just knows their subject matter so well, you can just ask about anything, but he could also explain it in a way that we understood. And it might be because, at least in Norway, when you're in that kind of a trade, you have to kind of school younger employees. They come out and they have to do a couple of years, as I think it's 2 years where they work in a company with, more experienced plumbers or carpenters or whatever trade it is, before they can go out on their own. So I don't know if it's because they have the experience or he's just that kind of a guy. But he had all kinds of things that he was showing us. So it's very hands-on in that way. We didn't all get to try everything, but we got to see him do things and we could just ask him any kind of question. I was very excited. They started laughing at me, the other people at the course, because I was excited as I was for the course. But he held my attention for 3 + 3 hours, which I don't think anyone ever does. So super thanks to Børre for this. I'm also going to try to have him come to Oslo and do this for our neighborhood as well in the spring. But he leads a busy life as a retired plumber, so he didn't have time until the spring. Anywho, a lot of the things are very Norwegian specific because we have a different pressure on our water. So a lot of our things are a little bit different than other places. We learned that we are not supposed to buy, what's it called? Taps and stuff from other, made for other countries because they can't withhold the pressure that our system holds. But I learned one trick, which is super important, super nice for the cabin. And if you have a caravan or a cabin that you empty out all the water and then it's going to stand in frost. We have this issue at our cabin where our taps break every other winter, at least our shower mixers do, right. But also the kitchen tap. So his tip was, after you empty out all the water, you take a balloon, you blow it up, and then you just attach it to your tap. And then the air from the balloon will go through the tap and it will remove all the water inside of the mechanisms of the tap.
Makes
so
sense.
That tip was worth the whole course.
Right. Yeah.
For
somebody
with the cabin
getting it fully out, it's probably not easy, but that makes so much sense. Yeah.
And we've even paid plumbers to come and blow it out with a compressor to get all the water out of the system. That just kind of ended up blowing up a lot of our connections because it's kind of like a homemade system. All of our connections weren't that good. So that did not work out so well for us. But this tip with the balloon, because you don't need that much pressure, just need enough air to get the water out of the system. So he was like, I do this with my caravan, because he has a caravan for summer vacations, and he does this for before every winter. So we were like, whoa, everybody was like, whoa, mind blown. This guy next to me was doodling the whole trick and stuff like that. So lots and lots of fun. Gonna try to use the knowledge as soon as possible. gonna clean out the water lock on our bathroom, which might be, which I think has never been done.
Makes sense. I guess that's the biggest problem with courses like this is like if you don't apply it immediately, I feel like 4 weeks after you probably are like, I don't even remember. I mean, the balloon trick, I mean, at least it's on record now, right?
Yes. Also, I took a lot of notes, and I think maybe because I had been trying out a lot of this, having played around with plumbing at the cabin, if you listen to the last couple of episodes, a lot of these things I think will stick more. And also it's more about that just like confidence boost where like, of course you can do it. Like a lot of these things you can do. And then there's like, these things are illegal, don't do it on your own. But these things you can do. And then he also like showed us like the internals of a tap. And he was like, this, you have to have like a special tool to fix it. And usually it's more expensive or like better to just buy a new one. But still, it's just fun to have like seen the thing and just learn something completely new.
Yeah, so. I can relate to that. Yeah. Like when our dishwasher broke earlier this year, I also hired someone to come and fix it because I didn't want to buy a new one. I mean, in the end, like financially was maybe not the wisest decision because getting someone to come over and replace that one part was still fucking expensive. But I also didn't like the environmentalist in me didn't want to put a good dishwasher on a recycling just because one part broke. So, anyways, and just watching him open it and like fix this one little thing. In the end, it was like, yeah, I could have done this. But I guess just knowing what to expect and knowing what to do and like knowing where to pull and which screws to unlock, like, yeah, it was worth paying for that. But like, now that I've seen it once, I guess the next time this happens, I'll just do it myself, I guess. So doing a course like that, we can like see how someone else is doing this and then be like, yeah, okay, this is roughly what I would have done as well. It's probably also worth it, right? Like, because we get to that later in the episode because just like the unknowns, the unknown unknowns is usually what gets you, right? Like the stuff that you didn't know, and by having some experts there and like showing you and you're realizing that there were no unknowns, that's worth something, right?
And also we could ask questions. So people had specific questions from their houses and was showing photos and he could like, he was like, okay, yeah, that's wrong. Or like, oh, I wouldn't fix that. Like, as long as it's fine. Why are you cleaning it all the time if the parts are hard to reassemble? Right. Like, does it need cleaning? Like, don't clean it. Right. If everything is flowing through it, fine. Like, there's no reason for you to disassemble it. But people have heard, these advice that you have to clean your water lock. I think it's called water lock in English. The thing that's under your sink that has a little squiggly bit to it, so the water doesn't go straight down. And he was like, if you have a dishwasher, there's no need to clean it because the dishwasher cleans it every day or every time you use the dishwasher and it empties into the water lock. If you have that kind of a system, there's no reason to clean it. So he was very pragmatic. And then there were some things where he just couldn't answer. He was like, I can't answer that for that, like, spending a day figuring it out. And he wasn't embarrassed. He was just like, I don't know the answer to that because you have to like look at the system. He was retired. So he's been in the business since he was 18. So he's seen a system or two, I think. And then he called it like advanced course after lunch. And that's where we learned how a water heater works, and what could potentially go wrong. And then I was like, it did not look like my Swedish one. And he got very excited and he was like, do you have a photo of it? And then he looked at the photo and he's like, yeah, that's something Swedish. And in Norwegian, that means like stupid. I mean, we're neighboring countries. We're like siblings. So if something is like done a little weirdly, it's like, oh, it's probably like a Swedish method. So it was, all in all, super fun. The best thing about summer camp was having no responsibilities. Like, I was not responsible for anyone else. I was there alone. Everybody else were adults. Everybody else could take care of themselves. Enough people and enough like combination of different kinds of weird that nobody would be mad if you went to your room and just stayed there for 3 hours and didn't participate in whatever was happening. And we got food 4 times a day. It was just like laid out. You could go grab your food if you wanted to. And I think me and my friend who was also there, both of us was like, this is the kind of luxury we need, where nobody has to say what's for dinner. Everything was just, was like there. It was beautiful not being responsible for anything or anyone, just a kind of vacation I need. And I guess that's like what entices people to like cruises and all inclusives. I guess I just never thought about it that way.
I was just about to say, I mean, I've never done like all inclusive, like where drinks are included, but we've done a couple vacations of like half board, I think it is called, where you like at least get like breakfast and dinner, and it's the best because you can just like do nothing for the entire day, or like do some sightseeing if you want to, but like usually when we stay a week or two, it's just like one day just literally doing nothing other than reading or going for a swim and stuff like that. And then eventually you look at the clock and it's like, oh yeah, dinner's on, and then you go and then you're like, oh, what's on the menu today? And it's just like pick something and you don't have to think about it, and that's the best feeling ever.
So I think I'm gonna need to do more of those kinds of vacations.
I can recommend it. Like, I mean, we don't do this every year, but every couple years it's kind of nice to just go there and also be fine with not doing all of the sightseeing, because like that's a tendency that at least I used to have, is like when I am at a place, and I mean, it's, in a way it's still true, but like I basically want to check off the entire to-do list, right? Like see everything. But sometimes it's also because it's also cool to just like not do that and just relax and not worry about anything.
That was kind of nice about this being in. Can you still hear me? I now have a cat between me and the.
Yeah, you're a little bit muffled with the cat on the microphone.
You have to stay over there. She missed me a lot. I was gone a week. She didn't have anyone to lay on top of. Anywho, it was a lot of fun. I didn't have any responsibilities. That was the best part. So
I can relate. Yep.
In the 2 weeks before that, I did some work, but let's hear about what you've done since last time.
Yeah, like it was an eventful 3 weeks, I guess. So work-wise, there were two interesting things, at least the ones that I can remember. So I think I mentioned before that we're working on the new theming system for Userlist, so you can style all the emails and that sort of stuff. We reworked the entire data model to support all the new stuff we had in mind. And it was kind of hard to figure out a path from the existing system to the new system, but eventually, broke it down into the necessary small steps that we can do it one by one. So that happened. And in that process, we also redid the UI for like changing settings. And we now have basically a split view layout with like a sidebar and then a settings panel. And then on the right side, there's a preview panel. So when you change a color or something like that, the preview would automatically update, which in itself is pretty cool. Pretty happy with it. But we noticed that whenever you change the setting, obviously the thing would re-render and update the colors, but all the images that are in there would disappear and then reappear. And I was like, that's odd. Like, why is it happening? And eventually I figured out that in our UI, we obviously allow people to upload images, so they include them in their email. And we upload them to S3. And we were always also just serving them from S3. Like, if you insert them into an email, we would just like have, I don't know, userlist s3.amazonaws.com, whatever file name. And obviously that worked, but like I then realized the flip-flopping was because the browser didn't cache the images. And it turns out, and if you think about it, sure, why would it? Like, but S3 by default doesn't include any cache control headers. So whenever you load the page, it would fetch the thing from the server. And I guess it did never occur to me that this was happening until we had the live reloading thing that was doing a lot of refreshes. And I was like, screw that. We have to do something about this. And this has been on my to-do list since, I don't know, for forever, basically. That we now have a CDN. Like we have a proper CDN. Basically, we added Amazon CloudFront in front of the S3 bucket, set it up so it, as before, just fetches from that bucket, has proper encryption for HTTPS, and also adds cache control headers. So now I think we cache images on the client side for, I want to say a year. I don't remember exactly. And see, suddenly the thing doesn't flip-flop anymore. Like it loads once and then it just stays there.
But I guess email clients do this. So for people receiving these mails, they probably haven't seen a flip-flop every time they open an email.
That's the thing. Like I think it depends a little on what email client it is. Mm-hmm. And like there's a lot of stuff involved in this. But I think the key part of this is most of the emails, like, well, a decent chunk of emails probably never get opened, so they don't have this problem because people just like delete or archive immediately. And the ones that get opened, I think they just load once and then they scroll through it and then they close it again. So it'll also not get loaded again. And then there's maybe the rare case where someone comes back to the email repeatedly and opens it repeatedly. And I guess in this case, if the email client didn't cache it, it would fetch it from the server. Mm. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But still felt like a good change. As a fun side note, we're now saving, because we did all of that work, we are saving like $20 or something like that per month. Because previously, as free traffic apparently is paid, like you have to pay for every megabyte, byte, or whatever that's on there. But with CloudFront, you only pay after the first terabyte of traffic per month. So we're now paying nothing, even though we're using more. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're paying for CloudFront. I don't know. See, this is how much I'm into this. I'm not even sure how much we're paying for this. Overall, I think it's like $30. I think it's $30 cheaper, and it's a little bit more performant, and it's caching more. So overall, it's hopefully a good change. But inspired by that, so maybe zooming out a little bit, like I used Terraform to do this, so I don't have to log into the AWS user interface, which admittedly has gotten a little bit better over the last couple of years, but it's still a horrible experience going in there trying to figure out anything. So having Terraform, where you can basically have a bunch of config files on your machine and manage them with Git, and then you run a command and it will basically do the setting things up for you and also the deleting everything for you because it keeps track of what state stuff is in. Doing that, obviously AI was a big help because I was just like, write me some config for CloudFront and here's the S3 bucket and set it up, and I reviewed it and I was able to run it. Inspired by all of that, I took another stab at migrating all of Userlist over to AWS, and it took a couple days again, but we're now at a stage where in theory I can move over all of Userlist from Heroku to AWS. which is kind of nice, but it's also
You have
fucking
to,
scary.
and you
We
have to,
don't
right? Heroku isn't it closing down?
It's not closing down, at least not officially. Like they are in, what did they? They had a specific marketing term for
What?
it. It was something
Active
like
deprecation?
sustainable maintenance or something like that. It was basically we keep the lights on, but don't expect any fancy stuff anymore. Something
Yeah.
like that.
But also they might be feature complete. Like, I don't know, is there a lot of things lacking?
There are some things that could be better, I guess, or they could improve. But whatever. Like for the most part, it's working. But there's always been this like, what if feeling, right? Like, what if, like, I think the biggest problem with a statement like this is that, sure, maybe they don't add new features, but like, if you know that a product within a company is kind of abandoned, what does that mean for the next outage they have, right? Like, is there anyone around who knows enough about all of this to fix it in time and stuff like? I don't know. For the most part, I wanted to experiment, learn something, and have a way out if you ever need to. So right now we have still 90% of the stuff is still running on Heroku. But like we have one web endpoint running on AWS and one, like our default background workers, also one instance is running on AWS as well in parallel. And in theory, I could flip everything over. But again, like I previously mentioned, unknown unknowns. So I'm a little bit terrified to do this. But maybe eventually I should just do it. I don't know. Like,
it might be better to do it in a calm fashion than in an eventual Heroku outage.
Yeah, I guess that's where we're at the moment. It's like, in theory, it's working. We have it like sort of running in parallel, but like most of the stuff is still flowing through Heroku. And I guess I just have to build up the courage and shuffle things over incrementally over time. Because part of me, as I said, like I'm both terrified and excited about this. Terrified because it's way more complex than anything on Heroku, obviously. There's so much more moving parts. And I know that I'm not super deeply familiar with all of them. But also, there's so much more moving parts, right? Like, you can do so much more specific tweaks or like tiny things or like even bigger things, like run different services in parallel and orchestrate things in ways that you cannot do on Heroku. And that part kind of gets me excited because there's stuff we would be able to do that we currently aren't. So yeah, I'm a little bit like in a weird state where I'm not fully trusting it yet, or trusting myself mostly, but also excited enough to keep probing.
I was in a community with a guy like that does that, help founders move and stay on Amazon.
Right.
He had different packages where, he would help. He would be like, he was an expert in AWS, and he will help founders to migrate and like, but also be their sounding board moving forward until the founder feels confident enough. I'll see if I can dig him up
I think
my archives.
that might be helpful, because that's also what I've been thinking, that maybe like I don't really want to outsource this completely, because I feel like it's still important to know what's going on and how things works and all of that. But until now, like, I cobbled this together myself with AI help and reading the docs, right, or tutorials. But having someone look over it and be like, yes, this is fine, or no, you forgot about these 20 things or something like that, would be helpful at this point. Like, just get a sanity
like he
check.
would be your Børre the plumber. who's seen it all.
Exactly, right? Like who's seen it all and who knows all the mistakes and maybe has a suggestion or two. I think that would be helpful. So yeah, maybe I need to do this and then maybe move over. I don't know. It's not, as you said, like it's not that we need to, but part of me wants to. I don't know. Like it also feels exciting and like interesting as a new, like learning new stuff is always exciting, right? So there's that part. But learning new stuff by screwing up production and the service being down, also not so great.
Also not so good. Exactly.
So yeah, there's that.
You could always take a plumbing course, so you'll learn new stuff.
AWS plumbing course. Yeah, I think that's what I need. So yeah. Other than that, on the theme stuff, we're making good progress. As I said, the data model is moved over. We now have a proper typing system, like a type system for configuration values and themes. Might sound a little bit weird now, but like the general idea is to have like a theming system rather than just like having pre-built themes. Basically build a framework in which we can, like we ourselves as a company can build new themes, but also allow the users to do their custom themes, or like even, this is not going to happen anytime soon, but like in theory, you could build themes and sell them to people or stuff like that. So we now have a system where you can basically define what configuration values there are on your theme, so you can adjust the colors, the spacing, stuff like that. And I think I mentioned that Leo has been working on UI components for this, but we also have like the server-side aspect of this where we have like a type system. So we have a type color, a type radius, position, image, alignment, stuff like that. And we do all the server-side validations and stuff like that. And then also have value types that do validations on, is this actually color? Is this a valid color? Is this a position? Is this a valid position? Stuff like that. So it's getting into really nice shape. And part of it feels a little bit like overkill, but influenced by my experiences with the MCP server earlier this year and the lack of proper validation and the lack of proper type systems. I feel like this is a good investment to build something solid now, and then maybe allow people to roll their custom themes using AI because we know the guardrails are in place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Stuff like that.
It could be fun if you could point it to your website and then point it to Userlist and be like, replicate.
Yeah, build me a theme that replicates my branding, something like that. Yeah, let's see what we get to.
Yeah, because it's often it's not that much. It's like like you said, the rounding of the corners and some of the colors.
Yeah,
and you can get a pretty decent, like, this is the same brand vibe.
Yeah,
and I think AI would do a good job of that. I've been coding with AI since we last spoke. And you mentioned like the hard part of a new feature is making it, like, how do you do the transition? And for a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to like nøste up, is the Norwegian word, like trying to figure out how things are actually working inside of our Airtable monstrosity, and other things where there are columns that aren't in use, there are statuses that haven't been updated. It's like I'm like cleaning through it, and then I'm figuring things out. Like, we have said this, I think, many times before. We have the concept of a bike, but it has one status field, and it has like 6 different things, I think, in the status field. So there are many cases where several statuses could be true at the same time, and we need to move that into other
right.
fields. And it's like, what order do we do it in? Like, where are the implications? And just now I'm trying, because we are selling or renting out, we're getting a trickle of orders all through summer, which is pretty good because that is our low season. People are mostly thinking about renting having a long-term lease on a bike at the beginning of the school year. So we are prepping a big back to school campaign, and then but we've had a trickle of orders coming in all through summer, which is cool. But then, like several times this summer, it's like, why are we sold out of bikes? And it's because we have bikes. They're in this physical location in the workshop. And this is like a holdback from when I think it's from the first time they rolled this out. So many years ago, you have this concept of a pre-assigned bike. So when somebody orders a bike, they get a specific bike, like a specific frame number. And then when the people at the workshop hand them out, they just hand out the closest bike. Like you're not going to be digging through and getting out the correct frame number if it's the same bike type. And I think this has to be something from like that first round, because then obviously they ordered like 100 bikes, and then people were, pre-ordering them, and then they got handed out. But now, a bike is at my house. I have canceled. We're going to sell it. So it's like with the customer, but it's also pre-assigned. And all of this is like muddled. So tomorrow I'm going to go up to the workshop, and we're going to go through all the bikes and see that like the columns we need to be in order now are in order, and then figure a little bit out what we're going to do with all of this extra fluff and how we're going to start to dismantle, I guess is the word I was looking for, dismantle these things into other systems, well, without breaking our ordering flow.
Yep. That's the challenge.
Because I have a beautiful new bike status like model.
Right.
But also this being an Airtable, I will have to make scripts to update. I can't do a typical database, SQL query and update things. I will have to make little scripts that go through. There is error, there's rate limiting. It's easy to see where I want to go, but then it's like, and then I end up in circles. Like, okay, if we change if we change that, well, then we have to change that. Well, then we have to, and then you're like, okay, I can't do that in one session. Like, where can I go that will get me there? But now that I'm back from vacation, I consider every day and spend several hours on this. We, I guess, me and Jean-Claude are going to get there. But at least in addition to sending out emails, which we are doing now, and we're doing it again this week, customers and prospects are now being automatically synced to the email system, which, sounds like a duh, but that has been broken for a year, I guess, because the HubSpot Make app changed, and then it all broke down, and it didn't want.
Yeah.
And we were just like, that's not the most important thing. But now we're doing things like that, and we're going to be using a new support system. So hopefully I'm going to be able, because we have a lot of manual processes. So my plan is that for all orders should start a ticket in the support system so we can follow them up manually. And also all prospects should start a ticket so we can follow them up manually until we have more automated systems. So hopefully that's also going to be done within the week or next week. So I'm kind of like poking at it from different sides and trying to carve out little things that I can fix that are important. There's a lot of things to fix, but now we're seeing that maybe we should have a correct count of how many bikes we are able.
Yeah, that sounds like
to sell in the next month or two. Yep. And then the next piece will be to sort out who has paid and are they still paying, and do we have the correct connection to Stripe?
Right. Yeah.
Which is all of these. It's a wonder how good not a good. It's like semi-working, or it's like cash is coming in, renting out bikes, there's our place, but then it's like like those like business ideas where it's like it's almost working, so you're not giving up on it. It's hard to see if it's gonna, those like, and I feel like this system is like that. It's working, so I keep thinking it's more correct than it is. And then when I dig into something, I'm like, okay, this isn't.
It gives you the illusion of working, right?
Yes, exactly. It's the illusion of correctness, and then you start digging in. And it's like, well, but how has this been going, like, how has this worked? Like, how have we been able to keep the business running without like having a correct count of bikes that are available, for instance, and stuff like that. But we're slowly gonna dig into that. What else have I done? Look at me notes. No, it's mostly just me figuring out that we have a lot of data inconsistency. And mostly just wanting to be at summer camp and having no responsibilities.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
We're getting married in 3 weeks. 2.5
You are,
weeks.
yeah. Congratulations again.
Thank you. And it's been a lot of fun in seeing how people don't handle things being in flux. Because I think the life that I've lived or relived, like I am fairly okay with, I know where it's going to be. I know what day it's going to be. Like things are, things will fall into place. But people have been asking for 3 months, like, what's the final count? Who's going to officiate? All these, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And people have been like visibly stressed on my behalf. Like, this is my, it's our party. You're going to be a guest. But I've seen that they've stressed out that I don't have a Excel spreadsheet or like a spreadsheet of these things, that I'm okay with. Like, it's gonna be fine. And they're like, well, you're never going to find an officiator. You're never going to find a caterer. I found an officiator. It's going to be a legally binding wedding. We have an awesome caterer. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
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 And if I hadn't found a caterer, we would have just had hot dogs. It would have been fine. That would also have been fine.
Yeah. I think, that's just different people, like types of personalities, right? Like some people just need to know exactly to the point and plan everything out. And some people are just like fine with going with the flow. And I guess you're more on the going with the flow and not necessarily on the planning everything to the last dot type of person. But I guess those are not necessarily compatible at all times.
No, but I find it interesting that it's not their party. They're gonna be guests. Like the location, like the party's gonna happen.
But like,
are they scared
some
the party
people
won't?
Some people want to know what to expect and what to prepare for, right? Like,
Yes,
there's a certain uncertainty by not planning everything ahead, like, and being a guest at a party where nothing, like, where it's not fully planned. But I mean, I get your point as well. Like, what do the guests care, right? Like, as long as there's going to be a party and there's going to be some food and some drinks, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, because a lot of the questions are from friends that are things that never would be in an invite. Like, you don't state in an invite how many people exactly are coming to your wedding. Usually, like
Right.
you usually invite somebody to something, but you're not like, this is gonna. You can probably deduce from the venue maybe how big the wedding is going to be, but usually the guests aren't clued in on those things. So that's what I found. Obviously, now that it's this close and people, like, we hadn't told people when it starts until yesterday. I understand that people get stressed about those things.
Right.
But like the internals, that's not up to you. So why are you stressed?
Yeah.
But anywho, it's been interesting to see how involved people are in this, because I've had a lot of parties. People usually don't involve themselves as much. And also how excited people are. I think a lot of people in our age bracket is looking for just like a fun celebratory event.
One night where you don't have to think what's for dinner.
Exactly. And where it's all about, love and happiness. And it seems like, at least in my circles, people have been craving a party like that, which is fun that we can give it to them. And on that note, when we hang up, I'm gonna call the neighbor and ask if we can borrow their garden, which is like the last to do.
And they say no, and we don't want a party in our neighborhood, so please do it somewhere else.
Well, I have my own courtyard. It just would be
Right.
great if we could use their garden as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess then let's wrap it up so you can do some important calls and talk to you in 2 weeks. You can update us on the latest state of affairs regarding the party.
Maybe I've even fixed my dress by then.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, see you
See you around the interwebs.
Bye.